And I knew I wanted book three to have some sort of epic scale race or games or, continuing on the theme of enhanced and hybrid, each have an epic high stakes, either race or game theme or a scene. And so I was thinking about what I wanted that to be. And I was just so inspired by this incredibly deadly race that takes place today in Colorado. And I kept thinking about what would this race look like 100 years in the future.
We'll talk about this and much more today. Welcome to a Writer's Day podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Writer's Day podcast. I'm super excited to have you here with me again as we talk writing with an amazing best-selling author. And that's why I started this podcast, for folks like you who want to listen to authors talk about their writing journeys and their new stories that are releasing. You're going to enjoy today's guest. So if you like what you hear, please consider liking my podcast, subscribing, following me, and posting a review. I'd love to know what you think. And head over to artbyruth.com to learn more about my next upcoming projects this fall. That's right, book 3 in my Love and Romance in Italy series is releasing this fall. And I will be releasing the title and the cover reveal pretty soon. So sign up for my newsletter. And remember, I give away a free book every month and sometimes 2 books. So head over to artbyruth.com today. And when you sign up, you will get chapter 1 in my Desert Shadow Suspense series. That's right. You'll get to read chapter 1, which continues the journey of Emma and Liam as they begin their next cases as private investigators. So artbyruth.com, sign up for my newsletter today. Candace Kade is with me again today. This is my 3rd interview with her. I love talking to her about her stories. She's the author of the Hybrid series, that's right. And she's here to talk about her new book, Augmented, and it sounds fascinating. So you know the drill. Grab your favorite beverage, a comfortable chair, kick back and relax as we listen to Candace talk about her new book. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have my friend Candace Kade with me today to talk about book 3 in her Hybrid series. Welcome back, Candace.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you.
Sure. Well, why don't you tell us what you've been up to, and then we'll talk about your new book.
Absolutely. It's been an exciting year since we last chatted. I was trying to think of all the things that have happened, but yeah, I finished book 3, which was much harder than I anticipated. Wrapping up a series was definitely a unique challenge, but it's done. The book is coming out soon. I'm so thrilled. So that is super exciting. We finished the last bits of typesetting, and there's always little Easter eggs I get to put inside in the chapter headers and stuff. So we just finished all of that a couple weeks ago. So it's good to go. Arcs are coming out soon. And then, yeah, this summer has just been a lot of travel. We got back from visiting my brother and sister-in-law in the Netherlands last month. So that was a super fun trip. And yeah, just our first international trip as a family with young boys. So that was a little intimidating, but it was so much fun to get to see my brother and sister-in-law and just spend some time as a family relaxing. I think I've just been going so hard trying to get this series done, being on deadline, doing all the marketing. Last we chatted, I'd recently moved to Oklahoma and had a baby, so just a lot going on. So last month was just kind of a nice break to, or a nice chance to just take a break and a breather and explore a foreign country and be with family. And yeah, that was just absolutely delightful.
That sounds great. How did you like it, the Netherlands?
I love it. So we mainly went to The Hague, which is just south of Amsterdam. And it was just such a beautiful, sleepy, chill city. You know, I got to have cappuccinos at these beautiful cafes and walk around the canal and go to different museums like the Rembrandt Museum and take little day trips to Belgium and other places. And yeah, I really loved it. It was so much fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'd love to go. So wrapping up the book, how was that? You said it was harder to wrap up the series. Why? What was the challenge?
Yes, I did not anticipate this. So I love starting books. And when you're first starting out in your career, they say if you want to go traditional, you should write a bunch of first books in a series, right? So
Hmm.
that way you have better odds at querying different books with different agents. And then when you get an agent, you have more, it's kind of like more lines in the pond, right? If you're fishing, using
Yeah.
that analogy, you have different bait, different lines to try and get different publishers interested in your story. So I had taken that approach and I had written several books in a series, but only just the first one. So I felt like I kind of knew what I was doing on that front. But then when I signed with Enclave, suddenly I was on a deadline to finish books two and then three. And book two, while challenging, I feel like was not too hard. The world was already kind of built out, fleshed out. I knew where the plot was going. And with book three, though, you suddenly have to wrap up all those threads, all those fun little plot, things you sprinkled in on book one, book two, all those characters that you added over time. Suddenly you have to wrap up all their arcs. And yeah, I just found that to be very challenging trying to wrap everything up in a series. And I hadn't really anticipated that or done it before.
Mm. So did it help? Did you go back and read book one and then realize, oh, I better mention that. I better tie up this loose end?
Yeah, I did. So something really fun that me and my husband do is he doesn't read my book until it's published in print. And then when it's in print, he will read it out loud to me. And it's the first time he's reading it. And it's also just fun. I get to hear his initial reaction. And I also get to hear what it sounds like being read out loud to me. So that usually happens pretty close to when I'm turning in the next book. So I got a reminder. I remember when he read Enhanced to me for the first time, I was about to turn Hybrid in. And there was a few things from hearing him read it to me that I thought, oh, shoot, those are little details I forgot. I need to make sure that I have
Mm.
those correct in Hybrid. And then same thing when he was reading Hybrid, that I went back and added in Augmented.
That's good. See, that helps the reader too. It shows that you really cared about the story and the characters enough to tie up those loose ends instead of leaving things dangling, and unanswered.
No, I wouldn't do it to my readers. It's so funny. I had a couple readers because initially on Amazon it showed Hybrid as book two out of two. So people thought there were just two books, and they would get to the end, and I won't give spoilers, but the ending of book two, it's not a cliffhanger, but it's definitely not super satisfactory because I mean it's not the end of the trilogy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's some questions answered, but there's a lot more asked. And so people would ask me, they'd reach out on social media and say, "Wait, this is the end, but I have so many questions." And I was like, "No, no, I would never do that to you. I'm wrapping it up. Everything will be explained in book three." So yeah, no, I would never leave my readers hanging like that. I like to wrap up as many loose ends as I can.
Oh, good. Yeah, that does make it a challenge when you're doing a three-book series. I know for me, I'm starting book three in a three-book series too, and so I just finished book two, and one of the villains gets away, and so I thought, okay, I'm gonna definitely have to revisit her. And my husband's like, "Why? Just leave her alone. She got away. So what?" And I said, "No, no, no. Readers, they like it when you do things like that. When you bring back a
Right.
character that seems like they're done, that they're gone, but then you bring them back and maybe they're like this plot, it'll be part of a plot twist or something. I don't know. I'm
Yes.
still thinking about it, but I think that's what makes it fun. I did a podcast interview years ago with another author when Endgame, the Avengers final movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through and talked about our favorites because they did such a beautiful job of completing everyone's arcs and tying up all those loose ends and taking you all the way back to Iron Man and Captain America and everything. And it was an excellent example of good writing, writers that care about the fans and really cared about the characters. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
where our job comes in is we really need to make sure that we're tying up all those loose ends for our readers.
Yeah, I love it when readers or when writers do that well. But yeah, I was definitely banging my head a couple times on book three when I thought, why did I introduce all these characters and plot that I now have to wrap up? Oh man.
Well, if writing were easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
Exactly.
Well, now let's talk about Augmented, the hybrid series book three. Tell us about this story.
Yeah, so this is the last book in the series, and it's really fun because each book has a main destination that it's set in. So, book one is set in New Beijing, where everyone has these amazing genetic enhancements, sort of like superpowers, except urban, right? And so, book one takes place mostly in New Beijing. Book two is more of an origin story. So, she's chasing down her bio family. She's adopted. And so that leads her to the Western Federation. So we get to see this sort of futuristic Texas setting. And then book three is really special because it takes place mostly in New Chengdu, which is where I grew up in China and is where I consider to be home. So it's just beautiful, lush mountains, almost more tropical, just this beautiful setting that I really, really love. But I don't want to talk too much about the plot because I feel like there's just too many spoilers for books
Mm.
one and two that I don't want to give away. So that's kind of why I'm scooting around and answering the location because I think that's really fun. But I'll just say there's epic stakes, higher adventure. The themes of belonging and family are taken to a whole new level in book three. And kind of what you're talking about, we were talking about just now of wrapping up plot and characters. One of the interesting things is wrapping up the themes, right? You
Hmm.
know, Urban is on a journey in book one to discover where she belongs in this world where everyone's very clearly either enhanced or natural, and she kind of straddles both. And so book one is all about belonging. And while she gets a lot of resolution in that, it's really not till book three that that is really truly resolved. Same goes for the theme of family. In book two, she's really struggling with family and her adoptive family and wanting to know who her bio family is. And we get some resolution, but we also have a lot of tension and conflict there. And so it's not till book three that we get to see a lot of resolution with that as well. And then there's also this new theme of brokenness that is introduced in Augmented, that we also get to see her journey through in this book. So it was also really interesting playing with themes and looking at how each of these themes was introduced in a new book and how Urban grew in each of those books. And then all those themes kind of came to a head in Augmented.
Now, from the cover in the book blurb, though, it seems like the Asian Federation is trying to erase Urban's existence, but there's a way for her to fight back. The race to the clouds. Can you tell us a little bit about this competition?
Yes. So, funny backstory on the inspiration for this. I was having insomnia for a while and sometimes still do. And one of the things that I would do to help my insomnia is I would play these different abide sleep meditations. And, you know, they're anything from gentle tinkling music or the sound of waves and maybe scripture or a story. It can be all kinds of different things, but I really love the abide sleep meditation. And one of them randomly was talking about this race that happens in Colorado called Pikes Peak. I think it's Pike Peak's race or Race to the Clouds. It has several different names. And I remember sort of being in this hazy point of half asleep, half awake, and hearing about this race. And I knew I wanted book three to have some sort of epic scale race or games or, continuing on the theme of enhanced and hybrid, each have an epic high stakes, either race or game theme or scene. And so I was thinking about what I wanted that to be. And I was just so inspired by this incredibly deadly race that takes place today in Colorado. And I kept thinking about what would this race look like 100 years in the future, which is when the world of the enhanced and the hybrid series is set. And so that was really the inspiration for this is, okay, we have this modern day race that's one of the most deadly races in the world for both cars and motorcycles. They have two different divisions, multiple divisions. What would that look like if it was set in Chengdu in some of the mountains there? And what would it be set? What would it look like if we had futuristic sort of different ways to race? So not just your average motorcycle, as you can see by the cover, is not your
Hmm.
average motorcycle. So that's kind of the initial inspiration for it. And then the story was very much built around that concept.
Oh, that sounds incredible. And yes, the cover. Did Kurt DuPont do the cover?
Yes, he always does such a great job.
He did. The vehicle that he has on there is incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I sent him
And
some very specific photos. I was like, here's what this is. It's a motorcycle, but it converts to a flying machine because they do actually have prototypes of something like this that exists today. And
oh,
so I was like sending him the different YouTube video links and saying, this is what it looks like. Can you make something like this? And he did a great job.
oh yeah, it looks like something out of Tron, which is coming out. Another Tron's coming out
There
too.
is. Oh,
Yeah,
fun. I'll
that's
have
what
to
it
go watch
reminded
it.
me of. Yeah, it's really cool. So I think readers are going to love that there's this
Yes.
race and it's a deadly competition that she has to win. That's cool.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of Tron vibes. I have a playlist for each book, and I'm pretty sure there's Tron soundtrack for each of my books has some Tron sounds in there. So
Mm. I
lots
do
of
that too. I
inspiration.
have
I
playlists
love
too,
it.
so that's
Yes.
cool.
It helps too with like when you get to writer's block and you're staring at the screen for the first time that day. I just put on my soundtrack and then I feel like I'm instantly immersed in that world. And it's just easier for me to write somehow. I don't know if you find it to be the same.
Yes. Well, it's music written to a story already.
Mm.
So I think that's why it helps us because it has the ebbs and the flows and the highs and the lows, excitement. And so I'm like you. When I get stuck, I just put in that playlist and immediately I'm in a world with dragons and dragon battles.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Well, Augmented releases September 16th of this year, correct?
Correct. I'm so
Great.
excited.
Great. So folks can head over and pre-order it right now. So that way it'll be auto-delivered to your Kindle right on September 16th. And so what's coming next down the road for you?
I don't have any plans. I will obviously be writing, and I have a ton of story ideas that are begging for my attention. And there are a couple that are really interesting, specifically some fantasy ideas. Fantasy is actually my first love. I still surprise myself that I went and wrote a sci-fi novel. I never thought I would do that. And I think that's why my novels are not hard sci-fi. They're very near future, almost more dystopian. But I love fantasy. So I'm definitely thinking about going back to writing some fantasy novels. I have some really cool ideas that I'm sort of starting. I usually start with the world building or the plot. And so I'm just kind of fleshing those out right now. But, I'm not under deadline. And so it's just a breath of fresh air to be able to pursue whatever I want to do. It's really exciting.
Oh, that's great. And so, yeah, you can market Augmented. You've got some book events coming up for that.
Yeah.
How
So
exciting.
marketing is also a full-time job, as you know. So between the marketing and the daydreaming about my next books, it's already keeping me busy.
And I'm like you. I'm writing suspense right now for the rest of the year, but I love fantasy. That's my first love. So I think next year I'm going to combine the two and write a fantasy
Ooh.
suspense novel. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. That's actually kind of what I'm leaning towards as
Ooh.
well, is closer to suspense because I just love the fast pacing of
Mhm.
suspense and thriller. So
Too.
I love that. That's kind of what I'm
Yeah,
leaning towards too.
yeah, the world building of fantasy is so fun. But yeah, why not
Yes.
combine the two, right?
Why not combine our two favorite things? Exactly.
Exactly. Well, cool. All right. Well, Candace, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us about book 3 of the hybrid series, Augmented, which releases this fall. And I look forward to our next chat about your next project.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Augmented. That sounds like an incredible story. A great ending to the hybrid series. Lots of action. And that competition race to the clouds sounds incredible. So go out and pre-order your copy of Augmented by Candace Kade. It releases September 16th, which is right around the corner. I hope that you've been encouraged to keep going on your writing journey after listening to Candace talk about her new book. I always enjoy listening to her. She gets me excited about really coming up with these unique storylines. And that's what I'm going to do next year is combine fantasy with my suspense. And why not? We're able to do these really incredible things as writers. So be encouraged to try something new, to stretch yourself, those writing muscles. Try a new genre or blend genres together like we're going to do. But no matter what, keep going forward on this writing journey. Writing something, brainstorming, doing something that pertains to writing every day. Because like I always say, someone out there needs to read your story. So thanks for listening. And until next time, God bless.